So we are live. Um, Welcome to everybody that's watching via YouTube and Google Plus. Welcome to our first hangout tonight. We're going to be focusing on recruitment planning. I know some of you all have already started recruitment, maybe on your campus, or maybe you're getting ready to start. So this roundtable is really to tackle a few questions about the planning process. How do you get brothers motivated to show up? How do you get the word out? Also, if you want to follow along on Twitter, you can tweet to us at hashtag PSP Roundtable, and then that way we can take your questions too as they come up. My name is Chris McCoy. I'm the Vice President of Membership Development here at Phi Sigma Pi. One thing I do is help oversee the strategic plan here at the Phi Sigma Pi about our recruitment initiatives and also our member ed. So I'm really excited to be in this role and have our first roundtable. So with that, I'll let our panelists introduce themselves.
I'll go first. Hi, I'm Brian. I'm from the Alpha Beta chapter at the University of Maryland. I am the current Initiate Advisor, and I was a previous recruitment chair.
Awesome. My name is Gabrielle Palazzo. I am from the Gamma Beta chapter in Kentucky. I am the recruitment chair, and we just got done with our rush.
Great. So, like I said, those are our two panelists we'll have tonight. Again, if you want to take part in the conversation, each question, feel free to tweet out at PSP Roundtable. That'll be the hashtag. So, we did our introductions. So, the first kind of question is if you guys could each kind of explain, what does your chapter do before recruitment? So, within the planning stage, does your chapter hold some sort of workshop ahead of time, or do you have a special meeting? But really, what do you do before recruitment to make sure brothers understand what's happening?
So at Alpha Beta, before rush starts, before the actual events start on the Tuesday meeting with chapter, we start by just saying everything that is going to be happening. And also, each night before each event, we send out a rush playbook, which essentially has all the information that you need about how to dress, where and when to meet, what to do, and how the schedules for the night is going to play out. And we have one for each event throughout Rush.
Awesome. Essentially, for our Rush, we, obviously plan our events out very drastically in advance. We make sure that they follow all the bylaws and all the rules, make sure there's no risk management, which was, a huge thing for our Rush because our theme was America, so a lot of things were free, including free food. There's also an event that involved paint, which I'll explain later on, and there's risk management with that too.
Great. So our next question is, we talk about communicating with our brothers, but what are some ways that your chapter uses to get your brothers excited about recruitment?
To get our brothers excited for our chapter, the main thing we really emphasize is the fact of how important it is to get a great new class and the fact that they're the future of the Brotherhood. Also, in our Rush playbook, we also at the end have a pep talk kind of section, as if it is a playbook and a coach, just to kind of get brothers excited, like a excited kind of ending statement for each event. And also having food at events gets brothers to come.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that statement with the food. Part of our Rush, we have a very small campus, so just word of mouth, flyers. We have a television that'll actually broadcast, advertisements for the campus. We do tables in our main eating area, and we hand out flyers and candy to get people excited and to come out to our events. And we mention free food, and we'll lure them in with comments like, you want free pizza? And then hand them a flyer and say, well, you come to this event tonight and you could get some. Or, just things like that. We also wear, our letter shirts every single day of our rush. Or try to wear our pin, to really advertise the rush and get people really excited.
Great. So for those who are just joining us, I know we got a few more viewers that came on. If you have questions for us, the easiest way is you can tweet to us at hashtag PSP Roundtable. So far, we've kind of talked about, the chapters hold recruitment workshops prior or meetings. There's some great examples of holding a workshop prior to recruitment to kind of go over everything, establishing a playbook, which I think is a great idea that you can give to the chapter that kind of outlines everything that's going to happen throughout your recruitment, what to expect. So I think a lot of times brothers get confused, like, well, what time do I need to be there, and what do I need to wear, and what do I need to say? So when we do that ahead of time and we kind of set those expectations, we can get some great results. So our next question is about expectations. Do you have any best practices to share of what chapters can do to really share what are the expectations that we're going to have for our brothers in terms of how many events we want them to come to recruitment, how we want them, maybe to act towards potential new members? How do you all share your expectations that you're going to have of the chapter members?
To share expectations of our chapter, essentially, we just kind of just make sure all the brothers get excited, remind them also about what it was like when they rushed, tell them, make them remember that it's kind of an awkward situation for a lot of people going through the recruitment process the first time. So we try and just make them know that we want to make the prospective members as comfortable as possible. Did you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, we're talking about how we communicate the expectations during recruitment to our chapter brothers. So whether that's communicating like how many events you need to show up to, or behavior during events.
Actually, for our recruitment process in our bylaws, we make it mandatory for brothers to come to all of the recruitment events.
Well, for our events, we have a lot. It's actually during a 2-week span. So we have 2 meet and greets, which is just an information session where we present our PowerPoints and such. We also have, several other events. And brothers are required to attend at least 1 meet and greet, go to 3 events, and at least 1 info table. That's just kind of the expectations we give. And like you said, it's a really stressful process, just going to an event that you're unfamiliar with in a group that you're unfamiliar with. So as soon as people walk in the door, we try to get them as excited as possible and make them feel as comfortable as possible. And, we try to treat them like our friends, like you would treat your brother is how we automatically treat people at our rush events.
Great. Yeah, I think that's a huge component that when we're planning recruitment, is equally as important as making sure we have our events and everything planned and you have your rooms reserved and everything lined up, is clearly communicating what our expectations are going to be of our chapter members. So by communicating them to, whether your chapter has a policy about it being mandatory, or maybe you're going to say, our expectation is you're going to show up at 80% of the events. It's very important, and just like we mentioned, it's important for the potential new members to feel comfortable when they come to our events. It's something we're trying to say, we want you to be our brother. We want you to make this lifelong commitment to Phi Sigma Pi. So we want to make sure that there's a welcoming environment from the get-go. So it's important at your chapter, if you don't already, make sure you communicate those expectations, whether that's just typing out a list of what the expectations are going to be and present it to the chapter. And then one suggestion I would give is when you're giving those expectations, don't necessarily just dictate what the expectations are going to be. Sometimes you're not going to get chapter buy-in that way, but list and then give it to the chapter and allow them to give you feedback too. So if they feel like maybe an expectation is unreasonable, have that conversation and determine that and be flexible with that. Because I think one thing as an initiative advisor or a recruitment advisor, you're going to need everyone on your side. A lot of times you're not going to be able to do an info session by yourself, or you're not going to be able to do a whole recruitment week by yourself. So you need all your brothers there. So keep them motivated, keep them happy, bring food. Free food is something we hear all the time. Feed the brothers, make them glad that they're there, and have events that they're excited to be about. I think that's something we really enjoy. So now that we've kind of planned, you maybe have had a workshop to go over with your brothers what the expectations are going to be. You've got your events planned. Talk to us a little bit about how do you advertise. I know you kind of briefly mentioned it. Maybe there's some campus resources available, but what are some ways that your chapter uses to advertise your recruitment events?
For our chapter, we use a lot of different ways. Since opposite of Gabrielle's problem, we are a really big school. It's kind of hard to get our name all the way out there. So we just tried multiple different resources, such as we go through sharing the events on Facebook with pretty much anyone who'd be eligible that we know, chalking around campus. Also, one thing that is very good that we've done is dorm storming, where we put flyers inside all of the dorms, and especially kind of strangely in the bathroom stalls, and it works very well. That's how I actually found out about PSP. And then also through Facebook, I saw that a friend had a profile picture about PSP, asked her about it, and then that's how I got into it. We also go to student involvement fairs and talk to people, and we get emails also to write down so we can contact them later. And also wearing our letters the week before Rush.
Great. Gabrielle, do you have anything that you want to add in terms of like how you guys all do advertisement? Man, lost her. So just to kind of piggyback on the advertisement piece. Oh, there you are. Gabrielle, did you have anything to add for advertisement? No. All right, so I'll go on. So in terms of advertising, I think one thing I would suggest, use your campus resources, whether that is going to your campus newspaper, talking to your student life office. I know some universities will do the mass emailing for you, so schools use that. What I would suggest is if you use the bulk email, the national office will send those emails for you. So if you supply the national office with a list, they can send it for you, and that's a great resource to use. If you're going to send it on your own, the big thing is in recent years we've kind of seen a few little missteps with sending email. So one thing you have to be careful of is when sending email is making sure you don't carbon copy everybody on your email, because otherwise then you're going to send your entire email list, everyone's emails, and people aren't going to be happy with you. But also when you reply to a prospective new member, make sure that that our emails are professional and represent Phi Sigma Pi in the greatest light. It's very easy sometimes if you're replying maybe late at night after studying, and maybe you hit reply all, and then all of a sudden you sent this reply all to all 180 or so of your prospective members when you only meant to send it to one. So if you can use our services by our national headquarters, that kind of eliminates that. Also, your university might send those emails for you as well. Gabrielle, did you have anything to add in terms of how you all advertise on campus?
Pardon?
We're talking about how you advertise your events on campus. Did you have anything you want to add? I know you guys talked about wearing T-shirts and things like that.
Yeah. We do the flyer thing. We put our flyers everywhere. So in every single, classroom building, we do in all the dormitories. Our RAs will put them up for us. We put them absolutely everywhere. We also print out mini flyers, and we give them to the brothers, so the brothers can hand them out to people they talk to in their class. I really took advantage of that first week of school because professors like to put you on the spot and have you introduce yourself and say your major and stuff like that. And I just took that as my opportunity to advertise. So just I use everything I can to advertise for Rush.
So we're really excited. This question is actually coming from Twitter. This is coming from Elizabeth over at Beta Kappa, Clemson. And her question is, how do you deal with less than enthusiastic brothers in terms of participation at recruitment events?
I'm still thinking for a second. Do you have an answer yet?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you guys need a couple of minutes to think, I think that's a challenge some chapters see is, not all the brothers are really excited about recruitment or showing up, and they're there. I think the big thing is when you set those expectations ahead of time, by clearly saying, our expectation is you're going to come, but having the conversation that if they think those expectations are unrealistic, to have a conversation about why. Why do you think that's not? But I think one thing I personally found is when I was an undergrad initiate advisor, we kind of had that split. Half the chapter really wanted to recruit and half didn't. And one thing was going to those people who weren't excited and ask them, what events would you be excited to show up for? And what would get you excited? And then kind of compromise and find out why they weren't excited. Some may have to study. So maybe it's like, okay, great. We're going to have an info session from 7 to 8:30. If you only come from 7 to 7:30 just to do the part of the meet and greet, and then once we actually start in the presentation, you can slip out. Totally good. So I think sometimes that's good about finding a compromise during your events. Do you all have anything else you would like to add?
I know a problem for our chapter was not just sometimes the excitement. Yeah, it's setting those expectations is really important, and our chapter kind of knows what to expect ahead of time before every single rush because we have that meeting every single week. Also, for the brothers who aren't able to make it to events, we offer alternatives. So if you can't physically be there, what can you bring or what can you contribute? So, like for example, the events that we had with food, brothers would bring like a tray of brownies or something, and it's just getting them letting them know that they're not if they're not able to be there for Rush, it's not a big deal. They can still get their point or contribute in another way. So I think
that's great. So offering the brothers a way to contribute to the events without physically going there, I think that's a great idea. So whether that's making a flyer or even making brownies for the event. So that's a great idea.
One thing I would also say is, unfortunately, I haven't really figured out how to deal with brothers currently during recruitment who are not so enthusiastic about it. But one thing that is really helpful is just always make sure you kind of change up your recruitment, make new events, and get feedback from brothers about events. Right after recruitment, we send out surveys asking how they thought all the events went. And sometimes if brothers are kind of about it, we just change it up, bring something new. So it usually gets them excited about something.
Yeah, that's definitely a great point. That you want your brothers engaged and excited about recruitment, and if they're not excited, then your potential members are probably not going to be very excited about joining either. So I think having that survey after recruitment, that's a great idea to send that out to brothers and say, how do you think it went? How can we improve? And then what's more equally important too as well is make sure you actually do something with the survey data if you use the survey. So either follow up and make sure that you make a change, and make sure you announce that to the chapter. Say, okay, we had this survey after recruitment last year. These are things you said, and these are the things that I've done or that we have done as an e-board or as a chapter to make those changes so people kind of feel like they're going to be heard. So that was a great question from Twitter. If you're just joining us, just another quick Twitter plug. If you have any questions for us, you can tweet to us at #PSP Roundtable, and we can take your question. We can also keep kind of discussion going afterwards. So in terms of, we talked about advertising. Just want to talk a little bit about like materials that you use, whether those are flyers, T-shirts, things like that. Does your chapter design your own recruitment materials? Do you take advantage of the recruitment materials that are offered by the national headquarters? And who in your chapter is in charge of designing like recruitment flyers or in charge of advertising? Some chapters we see it going to like the PR committee, some it falls on recruitment. So if you guys can talk just a little bit about that, that would be great.
For our chapter, PR is who covers all of the advertising, making the shirts, making the flyers. We use our own materials. We usually make flyers that are related to our theme, which actually is also America. And we, sorry. Yeah, we use those because since they have the dates on them, it's good that those are the flyers. But we have used the national flyers in the past also for our more mid-semester type recruitment events where we kind of just basically throw flyers everywhere on campus and just try and get people to see the name so they'll come back later.
Yeah, we for that first week back, we used the national flyers since we were still working on ours, but we use actually both. Like I said, we make 2 different kinds of flyers, and that falls on me. I make the flyers, so I try to make them as catchy and as get in your face as possible. So using a really popular font, bright colors, things like that. Wearing your shirts everywhere. Yeah, we definitely use the National Council stuff too. I've actually used the National Council stuff to make a poster to put on our info table, and actually use some of the older materials as well, which is a little sticker that has a guy and a girl and just says brothers. And I really like that one, so I used that one too. So I use the old stuff, the new stuff, and our stuff. I use a combination of everything.
So the free recruitment materials, that's one service that we definitely want every chapter to be aware of. Every chapter is going to have a different recruitment budget. So when you look at your events, so when it comes to materials, in terms of flyers, there's some postcards. There's a lot of free recruitment resources that the national office will provide you. So if you go to phi-sigma-pi.org, there's a banner on our awesome brand new website that we're really excited about. But you can click there and you can start requesting free recruitment materials from our office. This year, the recruitment campaign, that whole theme, the idea behind it, actually came from a brother. So that's something we're really excited about, is not only are we offering our chapters and our brothers free materials, but you all are actually getting to design those and having a say in it, which we're really excited about. So we kind of talked about the bulk mailing services. That's another free service that we have that we can help do the bulk emailing. Then the bulk mailing services, so if you're going to send like a hard snail mail type thing, the national office may be able to assist you as well at a pretty reasonable cost. So if you're interested in the free materials, the bulk emailing, or the bulk snail mail, reach out to your chapter consultant. They're going to be a great resource for you, and they'll get you in touch with the national staff member at headquarters that can get that all lined up. So a lot of great resources. Take advantage of those. So the next question would be, if you could describe what your chapter's most successful recruitment event has been in the past, what would it be, and why was it successful?
Our most successful event every year is our wing night, and that's the event that we have after our first two meet nights, which are fairly, business casual, dress up, you listen to the brothers talk. But the wing night is a very laid-back, relaxed night to kind of calm the prospective brothers down. But the brothers are all just writing their letters. Some of the alumni come. We just go to the local pub, we rent out, and we get a ton of wings. And pretty much it's just a night where we talk and do that. And usually there's some other side event. Like when I was recruitment chair, we also did like graffiti posters, where we wrote down a graffiti scholarship, leadership, and fellowship on 3 posters. And we had all the prospective members and all the brothers go up and write down what they thought would be good events or good words to describe the tripod. And we got really cool feedback from that.
Cool. I would definitely have to say, from this past rush that we just got through, I'd have to say the most successful event that we had was a paint event, which was literally just the game of tag, but with paint. So it was a really messy event, and people just surprisingly just wanted to come to it and get messy, and you just put paint on your hands, and you just play tag. I put on the flyer a disclaimer, warn people they are going to get messy and dirty, and encourage them to actually wear a white shirt. And I brought acrylic paint as well, and we splatter painted the shirts while we wore them. So that's just messy and fun, and it was a fantastic event. And we're actually thinking about expanding the event to make it into a fellowship event, so we could do like a paint more with the chapter. Other really successful events we've had are, mocktails, where you make non-alcoholic drinks, and that's really popular. So people really seem to like that. They like the environment. They like to play games, and they love the fellowship. The meet and greets are also very popular, and most of my events are actually inspired by the meet and greets, because at every single meet and greet we have free food. In the past, it's been pizza, and I've kind of learned over the years that the repetition of just doing pizza, gets old. So I mixed it up, and I did a pizza at one of them. I did an ice cream social. I did other events that included free food, which is I did a good old American barbecue, and they're a hit. Any event with food is usually a pretty good event. So that's what my theme of my rush was centered around, and what the most success came from, I believe.
So our next question's coming from Twitter, so we're really excited. So it's coming from Michael. So Michael's asking, for other information nights that you might have, like maybe outside of recruitment events that you do, maybe if it's throughout the year or whatnot, and even during recruitment, I'll go and add that one in. So like your information sessions or general events, could you all talk about, if you know, about what kind of budget maybe that you prepare in terms of cost, and what kind of things do you provide during the event for potential new members?
What do you mean by what's provided?
Do you all like provide food or like giveaways? What kind of things do you pay for? And in terms of, if you can share like about how much maybe do you try to budget for in your chapter budget for recruitment?
Well, mainly most of the money does go towards food because that's usually the most effective way to spend it. For our meet nights, we usually just have drinks because everyone's usually standing up, so we don't put too much to that. But we put a good amount of money to our wing night and to our last events, which also we have like ice cream at. Rush generally doesn't take too much money because usually for meet night we usually just use like posters that we've already made for all of the chairs to show what we do. I can't really think of what else really. So not too much money goes to recruitment, and food is the main thing.
The budget we had for our rush this year was actually around, I believe, $150. However, we did a potluck for all of our events. So I bought what I would buy with my budget was the main thing. So for example, for the ice cream event, I brought the ice cream. Everyone else in the chapter was responsible for bringing bowls, the spoons, the toppings. Same with the other events. Good Old American Barbecue, I brought the barbecue, and it was a potluck. So I made all my events a potluck, and that actually helps with budgeting and saving money. So if your chapter is struggling with money, potlucks are a fantastic way to really, save that money, and it helped because I didn't end up using my entire budget at all. I guess also the free things we offered, were food, and then during the info tables we did candy, and we would attach the candy to the flyers, so they have to take the flyer, and that's just some of the things we do.
Great. Yeah, so I'm definitely say, in terms of recruitment budget, a lot of money usually probably goes to like food and the giveaways because the food definitely gets people there. Another cost-saving way you might want to add into your recruitment is going to events that are already established on campus. So if your student activities board is doing like a hypnotist that night, have that as your recruitment event and say, we're all going to the hypnotist event, or if there's a concert or a sporting event game. So that's another good way to save money on your budget. So that way if you're not spending money on entertainment or bringing things in, you have more money to spend on the food. I think also when you have food, the brothers are excited because they know they're going to get a nice little snack. So the next question is, if you guys can expand, especially during your information sessions that you might do, so whether that's your meet night or things when the first couple events when potentials are first coming into Phi Sigma Pi, what's really the main information that you all really focus on?
The main information that we usually focus on in events is our events that we put on. Because what we love showing about Phi Sigma Pi is how diverse we are with what we do and who we are. So the fact of how many incredible events that we have, that's usually what we like to show them because that really gets them interested. So we tell them what we do for service, about our ICR events, and all of our fellowship events. And those are usually some of the best things that kind of keep the prospective members coming and get them really interested and excited about the recruitment.
What we do is we have a PowerPoint, and on our PowerPoint, it explains, the history of PSP, where it started, how it was all guys, and then it became girls as well. We also put on there, we explain the tripod and like you said, some of the events we do, some of the events that are going to happen that year. Like for example, our ICR event, which is happening in the fall. That we explained how cool that was going to be and how we're really excited for that. And we get really excited about the events we're going to do. We encourage them to come out to, our events even if they don't join. And, that was actually a really big part of our rush. Was a lot of people didn't understand because with traditional rushes with, sororities and fraternities, they think, oh, if I go to this rush event, I have to join. That was not the case with our rush. I invited everyone to come just to get their feet wet and to see what it was all about. And they decided for themselves whether or not they wanted to join. And that tactic worked extremely well because a lot of people would come, get excited, and they rushed. So it seemed to work out pretty well.
I think that's a great point when you're talking about your information sessions and what kind of information do you want to share, particularly at the very beginning of your recruitment. I think it's really important. Definitely you guys hit the nail on the head about it's about educating the potential new members about what is the recruitment process like, because they might think if I show up, does this mean I'm obligated to join and how much it is. So I think it's really important for your information nights just to kind of give a good overview of like what is recruitment, like what does this process look like, and then really highlight your events that you have lined up and to get them excited about it. I think that's really great idea to go ahead and start getting them to those events because information sessions, they're great. Sometimes they don't get everyone as excited as possibly sitting down and having dinner, and that gives you that fellowship option. So when we have that, so your information session, that's a really good way to highlight the scholarship leg of the tripod. You can use your events to highlight the fellowship leg, and then you can talk about the different leadership opportunities that Phi Sigma Pi has during your events as well. So using your information session really, to help promote your recruitment, I would say in terms of like Phi Sigma Pi like information, definitely you can touch on like here's the history of Phi Sigma Pi in a very like 30 seconds. We're a national brotherhood, so I think a lot of chapters are successful in highlighting that you can join the chapter at your university, but you're also going to get to go to events like National Convention and meet brothers from all across the country, and especially brothers who have gone to national events or maybe the region conference. That's probably maybe a great time for them to talk for maybe a minute or two about what that experience was like to go meet brothers from other chapters, and you can show pictures. One thing I would say to stay away from during information sessions and maybe recruitment is you don't have to teach them everything they need to know about Phi Sigma Pi that's going to be on the national exam during recruitment. That's what the initiation period's for. So you don't need to go over like, here's all of our founding fathers and this is all the information you know. They'll learn that during the initiation process. So just kind of keep it simple, and that goes by. So I think that's a great question. So that also came from Twitter. So again, if you want any questions on Twitter, just send us your question with hashtag PSP Roundtable. But we're going to go ahead and start getting ready to wrap it up. So it'll be the last call for Twitter questions. Go ahead and send those in. And then my last question I have really for you all is what advice would you give chapters that are getting ready to start planning their recruitment?
My number one piece of advice is just never fear changing rush. Because like I said earlier, with brothers kind of getting kind of bored of certain events or not being enthusiastic, if you always change it up and have something new, people are excited about new things. Also, granted the semester already started, another piece of advice I would usually have is to start early. Not sure what point this is for a lot of schools. And yeah, also just really make sure that when you plan your events that you try and show the tripod of who we are, and like just try and incorporate it into each event. So like we have a football day, which is our fellowship. We have our leadership in writing cards at another event, and then scholarship the first night, and one of our last events also.
Some advice I would give you is, number one, breathe. De-stress every night, because I know personally for me, rush is a huge stress. Things can go wrong, and I learned that a lot during this rush. And another thing I learned is, unfortunately, if you have a large chapter, not everybody in the chapter is going to be happy. Some people are going to be skeptical about your events, and that's your job as the rush chair to work with your chapter and find out what do we want. And I also asked outside the chapter, people who weren't in organizations or weren't in sororities or fraternities. I said, well, what kind of events would you go to? And I kind of fed off of that as well. And I also would like to say, break the rules without breaking the rules. So don't be afraid to do an event that you think not everybody would like. Like, for example, my paint event. It hasn't really been done in the past, and I was really excited to try it out. And You know, some brothers were kind of skeptical about it and like nervous about it, but you know what? I held strong to it and ended up being a fantastic event. So I guess as cheesy as it sounds, you know, like follow your heart. Like do what you think you would want to do. Talk to your brothers. Use your committee. You like really use them. Find out what do they want to do. Find out. Like ask them to help you. Don't try to juggle everything by yourself. And you know, just step out of the box. That's definitely my best advice I can give.
Awesome. I think that's definitely some great advice from both of you. Is don't be afraid to change your recruitment. If you're still doing, you know, the recruitment that your chapter did 10 years ago, it's probably time to change it up. Do something fresh. It's your time in your chapter, so you should really make it, you know, yours and do that and really highlight who your chapter is. I think that's a great idea, and don't be afraid to try something different. Go for it, and if it fails, it fails. You know, write down what didn't work. Make sure you pass that on to the next person, and go with it. A big piece of advice I would give you for planning recruitment is to use the resources that are available to you. There's resources on your campus, whether that's your student life office. You can go to your Greek office as well. Sometimes your Greek office will have lists of people who wanted to go to social Greek recruitment that maybe decided that wasn't for them. That's a great place to get a list of names. Go to your honors college if you need to get names. Another good resource is things that the National Fraternity will give you. So you have a chapter consultant. Reach out to your consultant. They're going to be traveling and talking to chapters all the time. So they're going to hear a lot of great ideas that they can pass on to you. Attend region conference. If you can make your region conference this year, they're going to have roundtables. That's a great way to talk to them. And then on our national website, again, we provide free recruitment resources, bulk mailing at a pretty great cost for you, and then the emails that they can send out for you that they can do. We have the wiki, the PSP wiki. It has some recruitment resources on there. We're going to be consolidating a lot of those to make them a little bit easier to read. And the thing we're probably the most excited about is the new Phi Sigma Pi national webpage. And on the webpage, there's actually a whole list, a whole page of resources available to you. If you're a recruitment advisor or an initiative advisor, if you look at the Phi Sigma Pi, our national blog, our staff did an amazing job putting a blog together that highlights those resources. So check out the blog. There's all kinds of really cool tidbits and tips there. Use the Chapter Talk Facebook page. So use each other, get ideas. This was our first roundtable of the year. I'm really excited. Huge thank you to Brian and Gabrielle for being like our expert panel area of residence here. Conversation going, we can. You can just keep using that hashtag PSP Roundtable hashtag there, and we'll keep that discussion. If you have an idea for a future roundtable, whether that's about recruitment, the initiation process, how to get ready for ritual, definitely email that to me. And my email is bpmembershipdev, DEV, at phisigmapi.org. Also, not just me, but if you have any idea for our national fraternity, reach out to the National Council. We love to hear from you. You can email us at nationalcouncil@phisigmapi.org, or all of our contact information is on the website. So, doesn't look like we have any more questions on Twitter, so that's good. Looks like we answered everything. Again, thank you for being on our panel. Thanks for everyone who watched. If people that weren't able to make it, will be a recording. They'll have that up to YouTube on the National Fraternity page, so you can go back and view it. So even next semester, if your recruitment's already ended, you're like, wait, what did that person say during that roundtable? You can go back and play this anytime. So I hope you all have a great night. We'll see you during our next roundtable that will be coming up as soon as we decide what it's going to be. Have a great night.